Hi friends, welcome to March. The harvest of the month for March is grains. So this month we're talking about all different kinds of grains, from rice and wheat to corn, barley, and kamut. Before we dive into our recipe, let's try to remember what all harvest of the month foods have in common. If you're thinking that all harvest of the month foods are grown or raised in Montana, you're correct. And if you're also thinking that all harvest of the month foods are healthy for our bodies in some way, there you go, you're also correct. So, we are going to be making a delicious snack today using grains. And as you probably saw in our Grains Around the World video, there are a ton of grains to choose from. So it was hard to choose what recipe we were going to make for our cooking episode. But I finally settled on this really fun recipe, tortilla in a bag. So, for this recipe, you're going to need all-purpose flour or whole wheat flour, salt, baking powder, shortening, and water. Now, as the name suggests, you'll also need a bag. So I've got this recycled plastic bag that used to hold frozen peas, and I'm gonna use this to make my tortilla in a bag. So go ahead and gather those supplies and come back and meet me and we'll start our recipe.
You'll notice that in this recipe we're using flour. Now I chose a recipe with flour because flour comes from wheat and Montana is a huge producer of wheat.
If you watched our Go, Grow, Glow video, you'll remember that wheat or wheat products are those foods that make you go. So they give us energy to do some of our favorite activities. So I'm really excited to share this tortilla recipe with you because maybe you'll make these tortillas and then you'll be able to go and do your favorite activities. Run and jump, climb a tree, go sledding. Super important to get those go foods in your meals. Okay, so this recipe is pretty simple. We've got limited ingredients and we get to use a bag to shake things up. So let's get started. First things first, in your large plastic bag, you're gonna combine the flour, 1.5 cups of flour, the baking powder, and the salt. So we've got 1 teaspoon of baking powder and 1/2 teaspoon of salt into our plastic bag. Okay, now we're gonna close the bag and shake it up. All right, awesome. The next step is to add the shortening into the flour until fine particles form. So this might take a little bit more work, but it should be pretty fun. Gonna get that shortening in there. Pop. And for the shortening, we've got 2 tablespoons. There we go. Make sure you get it all. All right. So I'm gonna close my bag again, and I'm just gonna kind of mush it all around. Squeeze it together. We're trying to form small particles. So at this point, you'll probably start to feel the shortening sticking to the flour. It might start to form little clots, and you're just gonna keep grinding it up. Make sure you get all of that stuff out of the corners. All right. I'd say that's pretty well mixed in. Now the next step is to pour our water in. And you're gonna want your water to be warm, but not too hot because we are using this plastic bag. So if we poured boiling water into here, the bag would probably melt. So I'm just using some warm water, 1/2 cup. I'm gonna pour it in. And once I add the water in, I'm gonna knead the dough in the bag until it starts to form a ball. So let's see how this goes. starting to stick together. See? It's really sticking together now. I don't know if I'll be able to get it into a ball in this bag, but at least I'll know that it's mixed pretty thoroughly in there. And I think I can even stick my hand in and kind of scrape it off the sides. Push it down. Try to get it into that ball form in the bag. Let's see. Nice. Okay, I think it's all combined. There we go. So the next step, you're going to lightly flour your surface that you're working on. I'm going to take some all-purpose flour. Flour that surface, and we do that so that the dough doesn't stick. Okay. Floured our surface, then we're going to pull our dough out of the bag. Get all that good dough from the sides of the bag. All right, there's most of the dough. I'm gonna get a few last pieces in here. Really kind of squeegee the sides of that bag with your fingers. Here we go. Put it into here. Okay, now the next step is to knead your dough for 15 strokes. So I like to fold one part over and kind of slide it. Fold one part, rotate. Fold one part, rotate. And you're gonna do that about 15 times. And if it's too sticky, which mine's really sticky, I'm gonna add a little bit more flour. So I've lost count here, but I think I'm on about 10. So 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay. So there's our dough ball. Now, scrape off the excess dough on my fingers and put it with our ball. So the next step is to divide our dough into 6 equal parts. We're making 6 tortillas. We'll divide this into 6 equal parts, shape them into balls, cover them, and let them rest for 15 minutes. So I'm gonna grab a plate, and again, we're gonna wanna flour this surface so that our dough balls don't stick. So I'll just do light flouring. And then I'm gonna take off one of these, roll it into a ball. 1. And as you can see, they don't have to be perfect. Mine are not all uniform in size, and that's okay. There you go. Number 6. And actually, I'm gonna pull a tiny bit from my really big ones and add them to my smaller ones. There we go. Roll this one back into a ball. Perfect. We've got 6 little dough balls. So now I'm gonna let them rest for 15 minutes. And while they're resting, I'm gonna clean up this mess. See you back here in 15. Okay, so it's been 15 minutes. As you can tell, our balls have spread out a little bit on the plate. So our next step is to lightly flour our surface again, and then we're gonna roll out our dough balls. So if you have a rolling pin, great. If you don't, you can use a round jar, and that's what I'm gonna use. So I'll make sure I flour my surface. And then I'm also gonna flour my jar. And it doesn't stick very well because it's glass, but you get the idea. Then we're just gonna take a dough ball, put it in the middle, and starting from the center, you're gonna roll out. We're gonna try to get our tortillas to be as flat as possible. If you used the same measurements I did, you should probably be able to get your tortillas to about 6 to 8 inches wide. Okay, one down. You can see how thin it is. Place it in my corner. Make sure my surface is still floured. Grab another ball and roll it out. Okay, so my skillet here has been heating to just past medium heat. And all you're going to do to cook your tortillas is drop them in the skillet. Now make sure you don't put any oil or anything in. It just needs to be a dry skillet. And you're gonna look for your tortilla to start bubbling. Once it starts bubbling and the underside starts to turn a nice golden brown, that's when it's ready to flip. So already you can see some nice bubbles forming in here. See these bubbles? Yum! So let's see, let's do a little visual check. Not quite, but almost ready to flip. Okay. I'd say that's good. We'll flip that one. It smells so good in here. Yum. So for the other side, you're not going to be able to see the bubbles on this surface because it's already cooked. But it'll be the same thing with the visual check. You'll just make sure that it's looking like it's getting golden brown, and then you'll know it's all done. So do that for all your tortillas. Okay, now that I've cooked most of my tortillas, I'm gonna dress one of them and see how it tastes. So I've got some leftovers from dinner last night that I think will be perfect toppings. I've got some beans, spread those. Some nacho cheese sauce made out of cashews, yum. And some leftover veggies. So I've got some broccoli, carrots, there's some corn and peas in here and some onions. Dress it up. Okay, moment of truth, the taste test. Wow. Got a big piece of broccoli in there. Yum. That tortilla is so good. On a scale of tried it, liked it, loved it, I definitely love it. That is a delicious recipe and it's so simple. Not to mention making it in a bag makes it a lot more fun. Now, I hope you had an awesome time making tortillas with me today. And if you want to share pictures or videos of your tortilla making process, tag us at GV Farm to School on Instagram or send us an email to lunchbox@gvfarmtoschool.org. All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.